In 1619, the first enslaved Africans arrive in Jamestown, Virginia, beginning 250 years of slavery in what is now the United States. They were likely originally captured from the Central African kingdom of Ndongo by the Portuguese and their mercenary allies, the Imbangala. They were then marched to the port of Luanda in modern-day Angola. There, they were loaded onto the Spanish ship San Juan Bautista, and the crew set sail for Veracruz, Mexico. Hundreds were crammed onto the ship. Living conditions were atrocious. It is estimated that at least 200 of the people on board died during the journey. As it neared Mexico, the San Juan Bautista was attacked by two English privateer ships, the White Lion and the Treasurer. The crews kidnapped at least 60 of the enslaved people. The White Lion then docked at Jamestown, which was established 12 years earlier and had about 700 inhabitants in 1619. The crew of the White Lion then traded 20 to 30 of their captured human cargo for food and supplies. Technically, the arrivals were sold as indentured servants, and some of them did eventually obtain their freedom. But one fact is crystal clear. They were brought to Jamestown and put into servitude against their will. This event marks a new chapter in the history of North America. Over the next 200 years, about 400,000 enslaved Africans are forcibly brought to what is now the United States. In 1920, the American Professional Football Association, or APFA, is established in a meeting by a group of 4 team owners at Ralph Hayes Automobile Dealership in Canton, Ohio. Hay is the owner of the Canton Bulldogs. He and the owners of the Akron Pros, the Cleveland Tigers, and the Dayton Triangles agree to a 6-game schedule and establish some basic rules regarding player contracts and other logistics. A month later, 10 more Midwestern teams are added. Legendary Native American athlete Jim Thorpe, a player for the Canton Bulldogs, is elected the league's first president. The 1920 season is characterized by a lack of standardized rules and a loose schedule, with the Decatur Stanleys playing 15 games and the Muncie Flyers playing only 1, which they lose. Most of the teams play around 10 games. There is no playoff system, so at the end of the season, a meeting is held to determine the 1920 champions. The Akron Pros are voted as the winners, finishing with a record of 8 wins, no losses, and 3 ties. Less than 2 years later, the APFA changes its name to the National Football League. Only 2 of the original 14 teams are still in the NFL today. The Decatur Stanleys are now the Chicago Bears, and the Chicago Cardinals are now the Arizona Cardinals. In 1940, exiled Russian revolutionary Leon Trotsky is mortally wounded in Mexico City by Ramon Mercader, an agent of Soviet leader Joseph Stalin, who had infiltrated Trotsky's inner circle under a false pretense. Mercader strikes Trotsky from behind with an ice axe, inflicting a wound from which he dies the next day. Trotsky was born in Ukraine in 1879 to Russian Jewish parents. His real name was Lev Davidovich Bronstein. The name Leon Trotsky came from a forged passport he used while living in exile in England. He played a major role in the Bolsheviks seizing power in Russia in 1917. As Vladimir Lenin's Secretary of Foreign Affairs, Trotsky led the 1918 delegation that negotiated Russia's exit from World War I. When Lenin died in 1924, Joseph Stalin became the leader of the Soviet Union. Stalin felt threatened by Trotsky, who some had seen as the heir apparent to Lenin. Trotsky was one of a number of high-ranking Soviets targeted by Stalin as he consolidated his power. Stalin removed Trotsky from his post and expelled him from the Politburo. In time, Trotsky was banished from the Soviet Union and eventually found his way to Mexico City. After Trotsky's assassination, Mercader is arrested by Mexican authorities, tried, and sentenced to 20 years in prison. Despite the fact that he denies any involvement in Trotsky's assassination, Stalin presents Mercader's mother with the Order of Lenin. After nearly 20 years in prison, Mercader is released. He moves to the Soviet Union and is given the country's highest decoration as Hero of the Soviet Union. He dies in Havana, Cuba, of lung cancer in 1978. He is buried in Moscow.